My challenge to the president is that you've talked very glowingly about these kids. Help us. Help us in the House. Help us in the Senate. I think you're a good man. Get involved personally. Work the phones. Try to find a consensus here.
All right, that was Senator Lindsey Graham issuing that challenge to the president to help Congress pass immigration reform after the administration announced an end to the program that protects dreamers from deportation. Well, now the president is tweeting that if Congress fails, he will have to get involved. The president says Congress now has 6 months to legalize DACA, something the Obama administration was unable to do. If they cannot, I will revisit this issue. Senator Lindsey Graham joins us now. He is the co-author of a bill that would provide dreamers a pathway to legal status. Senator, thanks so much for being here. Great to see you this morning. When you say, President Trump, help us, what does that look like? What do you want him to do?
Well, I want him to, one, define what border security looks like and see if we can do a deal where we secure our border. In return, we give the DREAM Act kids what they deserve, which is to stay in the country they call home. They know no other country. They're a great value to America. So we'll pass the DREAM Act for better border security to make sure we don't have 11 million more illegal immigrants 20 years from now.
But don't we know what the president's border security looks like? It looks like a wall.
Well, we do need a wall in certain places. But John Kelly is probably the smartest guy I know about border security. He was head of Southern Command as a Marine. So my advice to the president would be, you come up with a border security plan that's reasonable, that will secure our border. Then I think I can get Democrats on board for the idea of border security plus the DREAM Act, because we actually need to do both. To those Republicans who say, if you, no matter how sympathetic the DREAM Act kids are, if you give them legal status without doing anything else, you're incentivizing more illegal immigration. They're right. So let's do two things. Make a down payment on fixing a broken immigration system and give these kids the life they deserve.
So, in other words, you think that the border wall plan is not the reasonable plan that you want to see?
Well, I've been to the border a lot. A 2,200-mile wall is not necessary. Quite frankly, I don't think it makes a lot of border security sense. You need walls, you need fences. But the president, if he said, my border plan is good, most Republicans would fall in behind him. So the challenge for the president is to give us something to work with on border security that would be meaningful, that could get through the House and the Senate, that would secure the border. And the challenge for a guy like me is to try to get Democrats on board for the compromise of border security plus the DREAM Act. You've got some talented people in the Trump administration. General Kelly and others could, I think, put together a very good border security plan. And of all the people in America who have credibility on securing the border, I would put President Trump at the top because he made this the central issue of his campaign.
Well, you may have just heard the spokesperson for Attorney General Jeff Sessions on with us, Sarah Isgur Flores, who basically said it's not the White House's job to legislate. That's up to Congress. You guys are in charge of this plan.
Well, I would say this, that President Obama and President Bush failed to go forward on immigration. We all tried, but the time is ripe now. The president was right to cancel DACA because it is unconstitutional. These 10 Republican attorney generals probably did us all a favor by forcing the issue, but what he did was give us 6 months. But we're not going to pass a bill without presidential help. David Gregory is right. The president needs to sell this deal. He's a deal maker. His voice in the House will matter a lot. So the president's going to have to help the Congress find a compromise that is there to be found, and I think he will, and I think he has the ability to do that.
And the reason that you think that Congress can't do it without the president's leadership is because you haven't yet? I mean, you just have you have no faith that two sides can come together without the president applying some pressure.
Let me, I've been working on comprehensive immigration reform for a decade. John McCain has been the father of this idea on the Republican side. I've been helping Senator McCain, and I'd like a comprehensive solution. But 70% of Americans really are sympathetic to these kids, and 70% of Americans want better border security. Nobody in the Republican Party has a stronger voice on border security than President Trump. So if I said the border was secured, I'm Lindsey Graham amnesty, a lot of Republicans on the right. When President Trump speaks on border security, Republicans in the country will listen, and he does have a good heart for these kids. So this is the best chance I've seen for him to make a deal that would be a win-win for America.
But you're saying that the centerpiece of his vision, the border wall, is a deal breaker.
I'm saying that border security defined by John Kelly is what I would be looking for if I were President Trump. Somebody who's an expert on the issue. And most everybody understands a 2,200-mile wall, it would be ineffective, quite frankly. There are some places you don't need a wall at all. Sensors and drones can do the job. But come up with a border security plan. Let somebody like John Kelly advise the president. And the president needs to own border security. It needs to be something that we can pass. And in return, Democrats are going to have to understand that most Americans want to treat these kids fairly, but they also want to secure their border. There's a deal to be had here, and the president's got to help sell it.
When the president tweets this morning that if you guys can't figure it out,
Yeah.
that he will revisit it, what does that mean to you?
I think that means that he's conflicted about the consequences to the DREAM Act kids. He doesn't want their lives to be ruined. But, you know, Attorney General Sessions is right about the legality of DACA. DAPA, which is the parents' portion of this, was stricken down by federal courts, and DACA would fail. It would not meet the constitutional test of a federal court. It was an overreach by President Obama. So my advice to President Trump is sit down with really smart people, come up with a good, strong border security plan, and I will help you, along with other Republicans, find Democrats that would do the DREAM Act plus border security, and that would be a hell of a deal for the country. It'd be a big compliment to you as president, and you have done something that Obama and Bush could never do, which you should be proud of.
Senator Lindsey Graham, great to have you on the program.
Thank
Thanks
you
so much for being here. Chris.